We want to turn now to the investigation of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. Came to a close this week, at least one part did. State Attorney General concluding that Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women and fostered a toxic work environment. So I want to bring in now a friend of our show, civil rights attorney and ABC News contributor, Channa Lloyd, also sexuality and relationship expert, Dr. Logan Levkoff, here in studio with me. Thank you both for being here. And Channa, I want to start with the question of, this was an investigation that doesn't necessarily have in it have any criminal consequences, if you will, not directly, but people are asking, hey, if he sexually harassed, he broke law, when does a criminal charge come? What are the chances, likelihood, and challenges to something like that?
That's a great question, TJ. Here what you see is there's a different standard for each. For criminal, typically what you're going to find is there's some level of touching to the sexual organs, whereas sexual harassment in the workplace typically deals with an offensive touching, hugging, kissing, groping. Those are the allegations that we're hearing and that we're seeing that the Attorney General investigated. When that type of contact rises to the level that it's so often that it creates a hostile work environment, then you see the federal charges of that type of sexual harassment coming through, because it is a gender-based discrimination. Okay,
so criminal charges there, how high of a bar is it when you're talking about sexual harassment, groping, getting to sexual assault? How high of a bar is it to prove something like that?
The bar is significantly different. When you talk about sexual harassment and discrimination, it's a civil suit, so the bar is preponderance of the evidence. So it's a lower standard than a criminal charge. A criminal charge of sexual assault requires beyond a reasonable doubt. So the standard is significantly different from criminal to civil.
Dr. Levkoff, there were women watching this week and watching his response, and who are maybe keeping something to themselves, who have been waiting, wondering, they have secrets they've never told anybody. What message did it send to them to have this report come out and then see the response from the governor, who essentially said, you misunderstood what I was doing, or that didn't happen?
Yes, if the governor had said nothing after the findings, it would have been 1,000 times better than what he said, because he suggested two pretty damaging ideas. One, that we, women in particular, don't know the difference between casual platonic touching and sexual harassment. And newsflash, we do know the difference. And also that this is just who he is, and he's touchy-feely, and he assumes everyone is going to be okay with that. And that, too, is highly problematic and a terrible message, obviously, to send to all of us of all genders.
Okay, you said the suggestion that women don't know the difference, and you got to forgive me for the question, the way this is going to sound clunky, but how is it possible that a man wouldn't know the difference in what's accepted or not? I mean, we talk about the relationships in the hallways, in the offices and whatnot. Can you make that? I can't imagine, but do you have any room in your head to understand why someone could actually use a defense that, well, I didn't mean anything by it, and they made an honest mistake?
I think that in the workplace and when you're in a position of power, those kind of comments like, I wasn't really sure I was doing something inappropriate is a problem. And look, here's the bar for elected officials, right? I mean, elected officials shouldn't be touching anyone intimately or in personal areas without their permission. And let's be honest, that's a fairly low bar. Like, if that's our minimum, that should be something simple. But we see this all the time. And look, this is a great deal of hubris. And you should know that I've always wanted to use that word on TV. But this idea that you're above the rules and the hypocrisy of policy not matching practice is really problematic.
Okay, Channa, we talk about possible charges. He's facing lawsuits, going to be facing lawsuits. Prosecutors are looking into it. But short of resigning, and it certainly doesn't sound like he has any plan to do so, the impeachment process on the state level. We've been talking about impeachment, it seems like, for years and years in this country, and Americans might think they're familiar with it after the two we saw out of D.C., but this is different. How is it different, and how does it work here in New York?
It's going to be different in the sense that you're going to see the assembly take a vote. There's 150 members. They're going to take a vote. We need a simple majority to go ahead to move to an impeachment trial. You're also going to see what they call the High Court of Impeachment, which includes all sitting senators. And what's interesting is actually the Court of Appeal judges will sit on that group to have another vote. That's something that's very different, because in our federal system, the Supreme Court does not vote on impeachment. So there are some very fine nuances that that you'll see here in this that are going to be different.
Dr. Levkoff, final thing here. Do we need to take this as an opportunity, all of us, to take a moment and have a sit down with our young people, with each other, with folks in the office, just as a reminder, this is an opportunity to learn from what we're seeing here?
There is a tremendous opportunity for parents, caregivers in the workplace to talk about consent, to talk about equity, to talk about healthy relationships, and a reminder that the default setting for boys is not predator. Boys become the men that we allow them to be, and if we teach them not to take no for an answer, it's not a surprise that that applies to personal lives. We have an opportunity to do so much better for everyone.
I don't know if you use that line often, but say it in, the default for boys.
The default setting for boys is not predator.
Dr. Levkoff, thank you so much for this conversation and for being here. Channa Lloyd, always good to have you and your information. Really,
Pleasure,
ladies,
TJ.
thank you so much for being with us on this difficult story, but as you say, an opportunity here as well.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.